tweet. Now that we've got that out of the way. Basically, about some years ago, I was as new to college as you guys are right now. And if you had told me my first week that I would be, 10, 15, 3 years later, doing what I'm doing today, or coming here to talk to you about Harry Potter, I would have told you were nuts. Well, no, I was a freshman in college, so first I would have said, "Hi, I'm Melissa, I'm from New York," and you're nuts. How many times have you introduced yourself to somebody so far? Yeah, you'll only remember about 0.05% of those people. Just get over it now. I wanted to tell you guys something useful for the start of your year, whether you're a freshman or a senior, no matter where you are in your college career, like that sunscreen speech we always hear, those things that you remember for the rest of your life that are really important nuggets of wisdom that you take with you. And really, I don't have any of that, because the things that I took with me from college didn't happen from a professor. They didn't happen in a class. It happened because of Harry, and it happened because of journalism, which is quite nice to be here talking about both at Northwestern. How many of you want to be journalists? So I have a couple of small pieces of wisdom. First of all, the guy who brings you pizza at 1 a.m. is not your friend. He is an agent of Flabulous, the god of the freshman 15, who I'm still paying debt to. Thank you very much. But much more importantly than anything I can tell you about getting around your classes or dealing with life on your own for the first time, is that it's really important to pay attention to the little things that challenge you. When I was a freshman, I was sitting in those seats, and I was, not literally, I went to Georgetown, and I was going to be a doctor. I was sure of it. Sure as anything ever in my life. I applied to a school pre-med, which is pretty much, really stupid, because you are put in it is impossible. It's the hardest track to get into. So I sat there sure that in 4 years I was going to be going to medical school. Never mind the odds against even getting that far in the pre-med curriculum. But I was so sure of the way my life was going to go that I had set up distinct walls to say, do not do anything else when you get to college. When you get to college, go hang out with the pre-med kids. Go to the science fairs. Go do an internship with a doctor on campus. All your friends will sit next to you in biology class. And after about 3 days of doing all these things, all these very medicine-focused things, I was sitting in the science library, and we had just come out from one of these pre-med mixers, and we were looking through our lists and packets of what to do with our time. And somebody said, "Hey, they have free pizza at the Hoya." And we hadn't eaten lunch. And I said, "Okay, pizza. I'll go with you. I'll go get pizza." Forgetting for a quick moment, or maybe not, that I had done newspaper, yearbook, every other writing-related thing in my high school, but so focused that I was going to be a doctor that it didn't even factor. Well, when I walked into the Hoya, there was a girl standing by the desk, and she said, "Hey, nice to meet you." She was very sweet, and she was very welcoming, as I'm sure you've met many people with wide smiles on their faces so far. And she said, "Do you like theater? Do you like theater?" And I said, "Yes. Yeah, sure, I like theater. Do you want to write about it?" And all the little choruses of better angels in my head are telling me, "No, don't do it. You're only supposed to do science. Do not do it." And what came out of my mouth was, "Yeah, sure." And I wrote down my name. And before I knew it, I'm turning this off. I was spending way too much time at the Hoya, which you might think has nothing to do with Harry Potter, but here's how it does. In my junior year, when I was just about senior enough at the Hoya to become an editor, and I was coming off the grave situation of having to tell my parents, my very disappointed parents, that I had finally decided that I was not going to med school. After 2 years in which, I spent way too many hours at the Hoya, and my interest in science was decreasing, and the amount of hours I was spending up at that disgusting disgustingly dirty office were increasing. I had finally confronted my parents and told them, I'm not going to be a doctor. And let me tell you, bad conversation. Bad conversation. My sister, on my last year of school, had handed me the first Harry Potter book. She was looking at my giant course load because since I wasn't going to go into medicine, I needed to catch up on a lot of gen ed requirements that science had eaten up. And there was this giant stack of books for my new English major, and she threw Harry Potter on the top of it and said, "God, you need something light to read." So I'd heard about it. It was late 2000. I'd heard about it. I'd heard all the hype, and I thought, "Oh, a kid's book, fun, that'll be fun." And I read it, and I liked it. And I read number 2, and I liked number 2. I thought, this is good. But I was in the middle of number 3 when I was sitting in the Hoya office. Now, that office, on Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings when the newspaper published, it was deathly silent. Nobody was there because they had just all spent the night before getting the paper out. It was Tuesday afternoon, I was in between classes, and I snuck book 3 out of my bag, and I was sitting there reading it at my desk, at a desk, and this girl, Sarah, walked in. Now, Sarah, she was an editor-in-chief, she was a sports editor, she was this very friendly girl, she was kind of cool kid, kind of popular in the newspaper. And I never really talked to her because I just still felt like I didn't know everybody. I'd started late, I was, not in on all the in-jokes. And so I sort of tried to hide the book. And then she went, oh, I envy you. And I was like, what do you envy? She said, that's the first time you're reading it, right? And I looked down at my Harry Potter book, which it was like halfway into the cushion. I didn't want her to see that I was reading it. And she said, isn't it the best thing you've ever read? I can't believe you. I envy you. I wish I was reading them for the first time. And I was like, well, they're good. I like them a lot. I just started the 3rd one. This is a good. She goes, no. She goes, you're not there. You're not there. Just wait. You'll get there. I said, okay, whatever. But egged on by her excitement, I powered through 3. And I'm sure you guys know the moment I'm talking about in 3, when Sirius Black comes into it, and you recognize that he's the same Sirius Black from the first book, and the story has been set up perfectly. So they're not 7 disparate books, they're one giant story. And I literally slammed the book down. I was in the middle of class, I was out on the lawn, in between classes. I marched into the Hoya's office, and Sarah was sitting there, and I said, you didn't tell me. And she was like, didn't tell you what? It's all connected, it's this great big story, and this is not how things end, and I've got to read these again. And now, all the Hoya people are openly staring at me, going, who let the crazy girl in? And she said, just read number 4, and then we'll talk when it's done. So I, raced through number 4. I was supposed to be at my Gothic Conventions in Media class, and I was instead a half a mile away on my bed, sobbing as Harry's trying to win in the graveyard, And I look, this poor little boy, he's trying so hard to win, and Cedric says, bring my body back, and it was like, how am I gonna go, forget class? And I just ran up to the Hoya office, and again, Sarah was there. And I just looked at her and I said, I'm done. And she said, let's go. And we had our first ever conversation about Harry Potter, my first ever conversation with a friend in the real world about Harry Potter, and it went on forever. And at that time it was 2000, and we were in between book 4 and 5. It was the infamous 3-year summer between books 4 and 5. And it was something that I loved, something that we were able to bond on. I stayed friends with Sarah, and it became, my whole experience at the Hoya became a little bit more natural after that, because I had at least one good friend in there, and it had all started with Harry Potter, but my life moved on, and I graduated school and went home. And I